Carl Jung, 12 Archetypes that reveal who you really are. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, Aristotle once said, and nowhere is this more true than in the timeless insights of Carl Jung. In today's episode on spiritual wisdom, we'll explore Jung's 12 archetypes that reveal who you really are. Universal patterns hidden in your psyche that shape how you think, act, and connect with others. As you listen, don't just treat these ideas as theory. Apply them to your daily life to deepen your self-awareness, grow in your relationships, and unlock a greater sense of happiness. Which archetype do you feel represents you most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's begin this journey of self-discovery together. 1. The nature of the mind. Carl Jung rejected the notion that the human mind begins as a blank slate, untouched and waiting for the world to inscribe its lessons. Instead, he believed that within each of us lies an inheritance of psychic structures, deep-rooted frameworks that shape how we perceive reality, experience emotions, and respond to life's unfolding stories. These inner patterns are like invisible riverbeds, guiding the flow of our thoughts, feelings, and choices long before we can name them. This is why myths, symbols, and archetypes appear across cultures in strikingly similar forms. The mother who nurtures, the hero who seeks, the trickster who disrupts, the shadow that challenges, and the self that calls us toward wholeness. Spirituality and spiritual awakening arise when we begin to recognize these patterns not as rigid scripts, but as timeless invitations, shaping the way we move through love, loss, conflict, and transformation. A dream of a locked door, a recurring image of a forest, or an overwhelming pull toward a journey all reveal these structures at work, speaking to us in the universal language of the psyche. Jung saw them not as prisons, but as the foundation of freedom, musical scales upon which we compose the song of our lives. By paying attention to our repeating stories and emotional reactions, we discover which archetype is influencing us in a given moment. And this self-knowledge opens the door to conscious participation in our destiny. Spiritual awakening, then, is the practice of illuminating these inherited forms, integrating their wisdom, softening their excesses, and allowing neglected voices within us to emerge. In doing so, we move from being unconsciously driven to becoming aligned, allowing our outer choices to harmonize with our inner design. This alignment does not erase difficulty. It transforms it into meaning. Challenges become opportunities to discover resilience. Conflicts become mirrors that reveal our shadow, and passions become signals guiding us toward our higher purpose. When we understand that the mind carries this ancient architecture, spirituality becomes tangible. It is the art of listening to the inner story and choosing to write our chapters with courage, humility, and awareness. The inheritance we carry is not a burden, but a gift. An awakening means stepping into the truth that who we are has always been guided by these deep and universal patterns. 2. Archetypes and symbols. Archetypes, as Carl Jung explained, are universal patterns that live within the human psyche and shape how we see and experience the world. They are not abstract theories, but inherited structures that reveal themselves in myths, religions, and dreams, carrying timeless truths about human behavior and spiritual development. Archetypes are alive, influencing our choices, emotions, and growth. And when we begin to recognize them, we unlock deeper layers of self-understanding and spirituality. They manifest through symbols, which, unlike fixed signs, hold mysterious, fluid, and subjective meanings that point beyond the obvious toward the hidden dimensions of the soul. A tree may represent not only nature, but also rootedness, growth, or the link between heaven and earth, while a river can symbolize time, cleansing, or the flow of life itself. Symbols speak the language of the unconscious, offering insight where logic falls short. And Jung reminded us that the symbol is the best possible expression for something unknown. They are not mere images, but living doorways to spiritual awakening, inviting us to explore the mysteries of our inner world. Myths across cultures present recurring figures: the hero, the sage, the mother, the trickster, each embodying an archetype that mirrors parts of ourselves, reminding us that our lives are reflections of a greater story humanity shares. When we notice these patterns in dreams, stories, or experiences, we realize they are guiding us to grow, heal, and connect with wisdom far deeper than personal desire. Archetypes, such as the hero, call us to courage. The caregiver awakens compassion, and the sage draws us toward truth, all serving as maps for transformation. To recognize archetypes and symbols is to see life not as random, but as filled with meaning, where every story, challenge, and dream becomes part of our spiritual journey. They connect the personal with the universal, showing us we are never alone, but woven into the fabric of collective experience. By honoring them, we learn that spirituality is not a distant idea, but a living reality guiding us toward wholeness. Archetypes and symbols are not meant to confuse, but to awaken, revealing hidden aspects of who we are and lighting the path of spiritual development, where the soul speaks through mystery and the universe answers with wisdom. 3. Carl Jung's 12 Archetypes. The innocent within you seeks simplicity, purity, and happiness, reminding you of the childlike wonder that trusts life, yet it can fall into naivety if it avoids reality's shadows. The everyman desires belonging and authenticity, teaching that true fulfillment lies in genuine connection rather than status, grounding you in equality and shared humanity. The hero strives for courage and achievement, pushing you to overcome challenges and inspire others, though it risks arrogance and exhaustion without balance. The caregiver embodies compassion and service, nurturing and protecting those in need, yet it warns against self-neglect when giving becomes excessive. The explorer yearns for freedom, adventure, and the unknown, calling you to break routines and embrace discovery, but also reminding you not to escape responsibility in the name of independence. The rebel rises against injustice, desiring change and revolution, motivating you to question authority and break limiting patterns, though it can also create unnecessary chaos if misused. The lover seeks intimacy, beauty, and passion, enriching life through relationships and harmony, but it must guard against attachment that mistakes possession for love. The creator values imagination and originality, inspiring you to build something enduring and meaningful, reflecting the divine intelligence within, while challenging you to complete rather than only dream. The jester brings joy, humor, and lightness, easing life's burdens and teaching that spiritual wisdom can also be playful, though it must avoid hiding pain behind constant laughter. The sage pursues knowledge, truth, and understanding, guiding you to see beyond illusions and share wisdom with others. yet it cautions against overthinking without practical action. The magician embodies transformation and vision, using intuition and inner power to turn dreams into reality, symbolizing the alchemist within who can transmute suffering into strength. The ruler creates order, leadership, and stability, motivating you to take responsibility and build structures of prosperity, but urging you to lead with fairness rather than domination. These 12 archetypes live within the collective unconscious and shape the way you think, feel, and act. Most people embody a blend, with one or two more dominant at certain times in life. To recognize them is to see the hidden patterns directing your journey, and to balance them is to awaken both intelligence and spiritual wisdom, becoming not just a fragment of yourself, but a fuller expression of who you truly are. As we explore Carl Jung's 12 archetypes, let's embrace the journey of discovering who we truly are. Your presence here shows your dedication to self-awareness and growth. Leave a comment. I walk with my archetype toward wisdom as a sign of your commitment to inner discovery. Now, let's continue unfolding the deeper truths within each archetype together. 4. The psyche's structure. Jung described the psyche as a layered structure that reveals both the mystery of the mind and the path to spiritual awakening. At the surface is consciousness, the field of awareness where thoughts, decisions, and perceptions arise. Yet this is only a fraction of who we are. Beneath it lies the personal unconscious, the hidden storehouse of repressed emotions, forgotten memories, and unhealed wounds that quietly shape our choices and relationships. Deep still is the collective unconscious, a universal inheritance shared by all humanity, where timeless archetypes live patterns like the hero, the mother, or the sage that surface in myths, dreams, and symbols across cultures and generations. Jung called these archetypes psychic organs, unseen but vital to the health of the mind and spirit, just as the heart and lungs sustain the body. In modern life, these forces guide us more than we realize. The urge to defend justice may reflect the hero. The desire to nurture may echo the mother. The quest for truth may awaken the sage. By noticing the archetypes that shape our behavior, we begin to see that our lives are not random, but guided by deeper patterns of meaning. This recognition is itself a step into spirituality. For to awaken is to realize that unseen forces move through us, pushing us toward growth and wholeness. Dreams, recurring symbols, and resonant stories act as messages from the unconscious, offering clues to our inner needs and direction. Jung's reminder, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate, invites us to turn inward with courage. Exploring the psyche is not about analyzing endlessly, but about listening, reflecting, and integrating. To acknowledge what is hidden is to reclaim power. To engage with archetypes is to deepen self-understanding. And to align with the structure of the psyche is to live with clarity, wisdom, and spiritual freedom. The psyche's architecture is not a prison, but a sacred design, guiding each person through the challenges of life toward transformation and awakening. 5. The role of archetypes. Archetypes are not rigid pictures, but deep psychological frameworks that shape the way humans create meaning, giving rise to myths, dreams, and cultural stories that echo across time and societies. They do not dictate exact images of a hero, a mother, or a trickster, but instead provide symbolic patterns that the mind fills with personal and cultural expression. From ancient epics like Hercules and Gilgamesh to modern films and advertising, archetypes silently guide how we respond to stories, symbols, and even relationships because they touch something universal within us. Jung saw them as expressions of the collective unconscious, a shared layer of the psyche that connects all people. And by paying attention to them, we begin to see that our experiences are never random, but full of deeper meaning, dreams, recurring symbols, and the myths. We are drawn to act as mirrors, reflecting hidden truths of the soul. A forest in a dream is not just a forest, but a symbol of the unknown, a threshold to transformation, a call to spiritual awakening. Recognizing this symbolic language opens the door to spirituality and spiritual development because it allows us to uncover lessons our unconscious is always trying to reveal. As Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And archetypes are guideposts on that journey, pointing us toward growth and self-discovery. In modern life, archetypes are everywhere. The hero in blockbuster films, the lover in fashion campaigns, the sage in books and teachings. When we are unconscious of them, they influence us without our awareness, shaping desires, fears, and choices. But when we learn to recognize them, we take back our power. We stop being driven by hidden patterns and begin to work with them consciously, aligning with the archetypes that nurture our highest self. This is where spirituality meets everyday life, not by escaping the world, but by seeing through its symbols and choosing responses that reflect inner truth. The value of understanding archetypes lies in realizing that they are the grammar of the unconscious. They don't write your story for you, but they provide the structure through which your story can unfold. By learning their language, you gain insight into your deepest struggles, highest aspirations, and the patterns that shape your relationships and purpose. Each recurring symbol, each archetypal theme, is an invitation to dialogue with the soul. To embrace this is to embrace spiritual awakening, to recognize that your life is part of a larger story, written by both personal experience and the timeless wisdom of humanity. Through this awareness, you step closer to becoming who you truly are and who you are meant to be. 6. The archetype of the self. Carl Jung described the self as the central archetype, the unifying principle that brings together all aspects of the psyche into harmony. It represents wholeness, the meeting point of the conscious and unconscious, and appears symbolically in mandalas, circles, crosses, the union of opposites, and divine figures. Jung said, "The self is not only the center, but also the whole circumference, which embraces both conscious and unconscious." These symbols reflect the deep intelligence of the psyche, always striving for balance and integration. Across cultures and religions, the self emerges through sacred symbols. The mandala in Eastern traditions, the Christian cross, the yin-yang of Taoism, and countless divine images that mirror humanity's longing for spiritual wisdom and inner unity. Jung did not reduce God to psychology. Instead, he saw the unconscious as the channel through which spiritual experience flows. In visions, religious symbols, and profound awakenings, people encounter the self-archetype as a living force, guiding them toward completeness. This is why he said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." In life, when desires, duties, and inner callings pull you in different directions, the self works silently to unite them. This process of individuation is the path of becoming whole, not by denying contradictions, but by integrating them. It demands courage to face the shadow, humility to embrace inner conflict, and awareness that wholeness is not perfection, but harmony. Dreams, meditations, and synchronicities often reveal circles, mandalas, or divine figures, reminding you that beneath life's chaos lies an inner axis of order, a still center capable of holding everything together. The self teaches that your true journey is not about chasing external ideals, but about awakening to your authentic nature. Every conflict is a call to integration, every symbol a guide toward balance, every spiritual experience an invitation to deeper wisdom. As Jung observed, he who looks outside dreams, he who looks inside awakes. The self is that awakening, the inner truth that unites your past, present, and future into one radiant whole. 7. The source of archetypes. Carl Jung often reflected on the origin of archetypes, wondering whether they were the result of evolutionary inheritance, formed by millions of years of human survival shaping the psyche, or whether they were timeless Platonic forms, eternal blueprints of existence beyond the material world. Evolutionary inheritance suggests that instincts like nurturing, seeking safety, or fearing the unknown became embedded in the human collective unconscious through generations of adaptation, while Platonic forms point to archetypes as metaphysical truths, universal patterns that transcend time and space. For Jung, neither explanation was complete, and he ultimately believed their true source was metaphysical and unknowable, belonging to a dimension beyond rational grasp. This mystery itself is a gateway into spirituality, for archetypes act as windows into the deeper soul and pathways toward spiritual awakening. Jung wrote that the collective unconscious holds the whole spiritual heritage of humanity, renewed in every individual. This means that within you lives a universal memory that connects you to all people, carrying seeds of meaning expressed through myths, stories, and symbols across every culture. Whether it is the hero inspiring courage, the caregiver stirring compassion, or the sage guiding truth, archetypes reveal themselves in the choices you make and the roles you embody, reminding you that your struggles and triumphs are part of a larger human story. In modern life, where distractions pull you away from inner depth, recognizing archetypes gives clarity and direction. When facing hardship, you may find the warrior rising within. When searching for purpose, the seeker takes form. When guiding others, the sage speaks through you. These patterns transform life from random events into a meaningful journey guided by timeless forces. By becoming aware of them, you awaken to the hidden architecture of your own psyche, realizing that spirituality is not abstract belief, but an active participation in these archetypal energies. The unknowable source of archetypes teaches humility and wonder, reminding you that life is always more than material. They invite you to align with the deeper forces shaping your path, to live with greater wisdom, compassion, and awareness. By embracing them, you not only honor the spiritual heritage of humanity, but also uncover the truth of your own soul, stepping into a fuller state of spiritual awakening where ancient patterns guide modern life with meaning and purpose. Stay connected with our community of spiritual wisdom by subscribing to our channel. Here, we explore Carl Jung's archetypes and uncover the deeper truths that guide your journey of self-discovery and spiritual awakening. Remember, you carry within you the timeless source of archetypes, a reflection of the collective wisdom that shapes who you truly are. 8. Human purpose and consciousness. Carl Jung believed that the true task of human life is to become conscious of the archetypes pressing from the unconscious, because these timeless patterns shape the way we think, feel, and act even when we are unaware of them. By bringing these forces into awareness, we kindle what he called a light in the darkness of mere being, moving from passive existence into an awakened state of spiritual development. It is like living in a dimly lit room and suddenly striking a match. The objects were always present, but now you can see them clearly, navigate with intention, and choose your direction with clarity. In our modern lives, filled with noise, distractions, and endless demands, Jung's insight is more relevant than ever. Too often we live on autopilot, forgetting that beneath the routines and masks lies a deeper self that longs to be seen. The archetypes are mirrors of the soul. They reveal not only your gifts, but also your shadows, guiding you to embrace both light and darkness as essential for growth. Each struggle becomes an invitation to awaken, each relationship a reflection of hidden truths, and each challenge a lesson designed to expand your consciousness. Awareness of these inner patterns empowers you to shift from being unconsciously driven to consciously creating. You begin to see life not as a series of random events, but as a meaningful journey where every experience contributes to your spiritual awakening. The purpose of life is not to escape difficulties, but to grow through them, to allow the light of awareness to shine so brightly that it transforms pain into wisdom, confusion into clarity, and isolation into connection. This is the path of spirituality and spiritual development. To awaken your inner light, to walk with greater compassion and strength, and to discover a purpose that transcends survival and becomes true conscious living. As we close this journey into Carl Jung's 12 archetypes, remember that each archetype is a mirror reflecting a part of your inner self, guiding you toward deeper understanding and authentic growth. If today's exploration has given you insight, I invite you to continue walking this path with us. Don't forget to like this video, share it with those who may need these insights, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And make sure to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos on spirituality, transformation, and awakening.